Hello everyone, today our group will talk about Chapter 4, Managing in a Global Environment. A key to success in management in your career is becoming comfortable with cultural differences and recognizing how to be more culturally aware so you can learn to respond appropriately in different situations. Let me talk briefly about the learning objectives. Contrast ethnocentric, polycentric, and child-centric attitudes toward global business. Discuss the importance of regional trading alliances and global trade mechanisms. Describe the structures and techniques organizations use as they go international. Explain the relevance of the political, economic, and cultural environments to global business. Let's move to the first part. What's your global perspective? There are three possible global attitudes. First, an ethnocentric attitude is the parochial belief that the best work approaches and practices are those of the home country. Next, a polycentric attitude is the view that employees in the host country know the best work approaches and practice for running their business. The final is a child-centric attitude, a work-oriented view that focuses on using the best approaches and people from around the globe. The next part is understanding the global environment. Global trade today is shaped by two forces: regional trading alliances and trade mechanisms that ensure that global trade can happen. Regional trading alliances. Now, global competitions and the global economy are shaped by regional trading agreements, including the European Union (EU), North American Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA), and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN), and others. The European Union is an economic and political partnership of 28 democratic European countries. The North American Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA) is the second largest trade bloc in the world in terms of combined GDP of its members. And finally, Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN) is a trading alliance of 10 South Asian nations. And the next global trade is global trade mechanisms. We're going to look at four important global trade mechanisms: the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank Group, and the Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development. The World Trade Organization (WTO) is a global organization of 159 countries that deals with the rules of trade among nations. The goal of WTO is to help countries conduct trade through a system of rules. The WTO has played a pivotal role in keeping global trade active during the global economic crisis. International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group. International Monetary Fund (IMF) is an organization of 188 countries that promotes international monetary cooperation and provide member countries with policy advice, temporary loans, and technical assistance to establish and maintain financial stability and to strengthen economies. The World Bank Group is a group of 5 closely associated institutions owned by its member countries that provides vital financial and technical assistance to developing countries around the world. Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) is a Paris-based international economic organization whose mission is to have its 34 members countries achieve sustainable economic growth and employment and raise the standard of living in member countries while maintaining financial stability in order to contribute to the development of the world economy.
My name is Kit, and I will continue our presentation with learning objectives number 3 and 4 of the chapter 4. As a manager, you might want to get your company doing business globally, and there are different types of international organizations you might want to know. We use the terms of multinational, multi-domestic, global, and multi and transnational. A multinational corporation, MNCs, is any type of international company that maintains operation in multiple countries. One type of MNC is multi-domestic corporations. That is an MNC that decentralizes management and other decisions to the local country. And another type of MNC is a global company, which centralizes its management and other decisions into its home country. And the last one is other companies use an arrangement that eliminates artificial geographical barriers. This type of MNC is often called a transnational or borderless organization that reflects a geocentric attitude. And how to get your organization go international? There are different and many steps you have to take. And the first one, you may want to start with global sourcing. Global sourcing is to purchase materials from or labor from around the world, whatever it is cheapest. And the next step is to going international, may involve exporting the organization's products to other countries. That is making products domestically and selling them abroad. In addition, an organization might want to import, which involves acquiring products made abroad and selling them domestically. And a manager might also be using licensing or franchising. Licensing is an organization gives another organization the right to make or sell its products using its technology or product specifications. And franchising is an organization gives another organization the right to use its name and operating methods. Then one way to increase investment into your organization is through a strategic alliance. It's a partnership between an organization and foreign company partners in which both share resources and knowledge in developing new products or building product facilities. And finally, managers may choose directly invest in a foreign country by setting up a foreign subsidiary. That is to directly invest in a foreign country by setting up a separate and independent production facility or office. And now we come to learning object number 4, is to managing in a global environment. And as a manager, you might want to know that there are different and challenges you might have to cope up with. That's the first one is the political environment. A country political legal environment doesn't have to be risky or unstable just to be concerned to a manager. just the fact that it differs from your country is important. Managers must recognize that these differences if they hope to understand the constraints and challenges, opportunities that exist. Uh, and the next one is the economic environment. Um, there are two different types. That is a free market economy, and the other one is the planned economy. Free market is an economic system in which resources are primarily owned and controlled by the private sector. And the planned economy is an economic system in which economic decisions are planned by a central government. And the next environment you have to deal with is the cultural environment. And the next, as an organization has its culture, a nation has a culture too. National culture includes the values and attitudes shared by individuals from a specific country that shape their behavior and their beliefs about what is important. And the third one is a cultural environment. There are some challenges to managers in today's world called global management. And the first is the challenge of openness, and the second one is the challenge of the global workforce, and that may require you cultural intelligence and a global mindset. A cultural intelligence that is the awareness and sensitivity skills, and the global mindset attributes that allow a leader to be effective in cross-cultural environment. And that's just the end of section 4 of learning object 3 and 4. Now the other member will continue our presentation. Thank you for listening.
So now is case 1 chapter 4. Question 413. These events absolutely gave me an astonished action because there are a huge number of scandals that happen all over the world in general and in Greece in specific. And in my perspective, there is no surprise that bribery is illegal because it triggers a major negative impact of economy of every country, so it should be banned. In every contract of economy, especially in big activities, people are likely to want their project to be secure and protected by the powerful organizations like government or the big corruptions, and that decide to be successful give the right to bribery to become prevalent. Question 413. Many countries make an effort in terms of outlawing the bribery. For example, the U.S. Many countries in the Europe, like Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, and so on. And the only Asian country is Japan. Question 415. I think the managers should be well prepared for what's going to happen around them when working global. Sometimes bribery takes place in every corner of business, but knowing what is going on around them and have their own solution to deal with and to be away from it is also always a good solution. Question 416. In my perspective, Simons have made mistake, so they have to be punished for what they were doing. As a result, managers at Simon AG should accept the punishment and comply. Then it must be an action to apologize to the customer and publish their desire to bring back their image to the company. Another example of bribery in these two company is the KBR and also called Kellogg Brown and Root. This company is one of the largest engineering and construction firms in the world. And in 2009, this Department of Justice charged the company with the offenses, including paying hundreds of millions of dollars to secure a natural gas plant construction contract to Nigerian officials. The second is the BAE system, one of the longest fraud investigations in hot history by the British authorities, focused on the payment made by BAE to foreign officials, include South Africa, Tanzania, Romania, Qatar, and the Czech Republic. Now let's solve the question in case 2. Question 418. I think the main differences between the two managers is about the attitude towards women treatments in the company, how they serve tea, their dress code, or about their hair. And second is about how the company classify the customers. And finally, it's about the quick decision making problems in the company. Question 419. I think Nomura attitude toward global business is geocentric attitude, because at the first time, Nomura has realized the importance of blending the two diverse culture into one, and though it may be challenging in some ways. Next is about the differences and similarities of the U.S. and Japan. Through my research, I have found that there are differences is about America encompass the people from many nations, and whereas the Japan is predominantly Japanese. Second, Americans tend to be more direct and honest to every situation happen around them, while the Japanese is more subtle. Third, the Japan is a collectivist culture, whereas the United States is more individualistic. Finally, Japanese are more likely to avoid risky situations, whereas the Americans tend to be more brave to deal with the uncertainty problems. The similarity is both have the same idea about the importance of education as well as the ethic in the company. Second, it both have representative democracy as the form of the government. And I think the most that affect the effective in the company is the collectivist culture of Japanese and the individualistic of American. The tendency to avoid risky situations of Japanese is also different from the way that American deal with uncertainty problems. So I think that is the main factor that affect the efficiencies of the company. Next, I think the managers of Nomura Holdings should encourage the employees to communicate more. Understand more. They will understand more about the other backgrounds, characteristics, and personal culture. And I think the manager should be a good example to enhance others' involvement. Because sometimes talk to others about their unawareness of culture is a useful way to transfer and relay your knowledge to others. Question 422. I think Nomura does really well in applying global environment in the company. The acquisition of Nomura Holdings had about 8,000 non-Japanese employees, which is an action that flexibly contributes to the cross-cultural environment of the firm. Furthermore, his attitude toward global business is geocentric attitude, so he had his own global expansion strategy. Another expression of the manager Nomura toward global management is that he tries to promote a handful of non-Japanese employees to high-ranking positions in order to partly reduce the Tokyo-centric nature of the company.